It's not my problem. It's not my problem. When I feel every metal, and I'm pissed and I'm beat. When I lie and I'm missing all of the time, but I'm never sure why I need you. Please let me shout.
All right, we got a great prospect podcast today. I'm Coach Schuman. I'm here with Coach D, as always. I guess he's to my left today. We have a fantastic guest, Grant Carraway, Coach Grant Carraway, I'd like to say, because he's coached a lot of athletes, trained a lot of athletes, talks to a lot of athletes and parents about everything from development to training to becoming a better athlete. And he really has a great channel where he does all of that. I mean, you could just type his name in and you'll find like a plethora of information that you can go down a whole big rabbit hole and get a lot of great stuff. And he's got a great each week he's got a live show and he addresses kind of topics of the day. And so it's really, really cool stuff. Like I said in the pre-show, I think it's not just important for people on the inside actually coaching football and involved in football at the high school and college level, but also people on the outside to be able to discuss things and talk about things in football, and that overall pushes the conversation along. So Grant, it's great to really have you on the podcast today.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, thanks for having me on, you guys. I appreciate it very much. Familiar with some of your stuff, so yeah, really, really appreciate it.
Grant's background, not just obviously in the stuff he's doing now, but he became a standout player at the high school level, played at the college level. I think quarterback, right? You were quarterback initially, or
correct? Yeah, correct.
And then went into coaching. Now does a plethora of things, and from coaching to training and advising, and it really just a fantastic. I would say he's kind of one of the mentors in the industry for young athletes. A lot of times from afar, right, from the stuff he does, but obviously you could always get in touch with him, and he has camps and stuff like that if you want to get involved with him more directly. But I think it's really great stuff that you're doing. You really have emerged as a voice in the industry. If you could just briefly kind of go into and take as much time as you want. I mean, briefly, cover all the bases, but your playing background, high school, college, and then kind of how you evolved into what you're doing now today.
Yeah, I mean, so I played at a school in Southern California called Los Alamitos High School, and so played quarterback there. Got recruited from a few different schools there. Like, I'm not a very big dude, like, so I, wasn't recruited by any like big Power 5 schools or anything like that, but it was like D3 schools, D2 schools, and then I settled on a school because it was pretty much a free education. Like, so I just wanted to go there, didn't want my parents to have to pay for school. And then when I got to college, it was kind of, I don't know, I just felt like it wasn't necessarily like, I wouldn't say it wasn't for me. Like, I very easily could have completed college. Like, it wasn't like the hardest thing in the world, but I was in my freshman year after that like fall season that we had. I got an opportunity or a job offer to coach at the high school that I actually played at, and they wanted me to coach like varsity receivers there. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, like, that seems interesting. And that was always kind of something that I was interested in because I always really enjoyed like training as far as like a player. Like, I really enjoyed training, like probably enjoyed training more than playing in the actual game at a certain point, just because that like grind of it all and trying to improve and trying to get better. And so I was always training guys, like real young kids on the side, just as a way to make money. Like, I never really had like a regular job. And then I got a offer to coach, and so I took the offer to coach. Had obviously stopped playing, and kind of wasn't what I expected. It may have just been the situation that I was in, but when you coach at a school in Southern California, they don't let you train. It's like essentially like play, like, and most of my guys that I worked with were in that like same school district, so it would be deemed like you're paying to play almost.
Almost like you're working, like, and you were working with your players all season, right? Like, that's something kind of here. We kind of have that here in Jersey a little bit. It's kind of frowned upon. It's kind of like a gray area, right? Like,
for sure.
So, but it's like firmly defined where you're at.
Yeah, and especially the school that I was at, because there was like a base and it was kind of their fault. They kind of screwed everybody over, but it was like they were running like they were running it was a coach, and the coach ended up getting fired, but he would have practice from like 3 to 5 for his team, and then if you wanted to stay and keep hitting in the cage, you got to start paying as soon as 5 o'clock hit. So that's where it was kind of a yeah, and it's like, all right, dude, like, yeah,
like, buddy,
yeah, kind of screwed everybody over on that one. And so anyways, I had to drop like all the clients that I had, and so that kind of sucked. And then the coaching, we were talented. It was a good team and it was a good program and all that, but it was just it was just a tough year, and I think it may have been the situation I was in. But anyways, after that year, I quit. And then I started training athletes again, and then that's really when I started posting on social media, which was like 2019, I want to say. And then I ended up dropping out of school, which I tell a lot of my guys don't do that, obviously. But I got very blessed. I got lucky, and just really kind of went hard into social media. And that was before TikTok, that was before YouTube Shorts, that was before Instagram Reels. It was just when Instagram was just like photos and video, and every video had to be under 60 seconds. And so we kind of took the approach of where we're not going to put, because we saw there's obviously trainers on Instagram and social media beforehand, not so much YouTube. A lot of it was outdated. So I saw an opportunity there. And then on Instagram, a lot of it was just guys posting like drills, like just like, hey, this is this guy that I trained doing drills. And like, we get some steam, it gets some traction, but there was nobody really on the platform at the time speaking directly to the camera and giving value to the audience through that. So I was just like, you know what, I'm going to post 4 or 5 times a day and just grind and reach out to as many people as we could. I'd spend like 6 hours in my room, just like pacing back and forth, just commenting on people's stuff, like not trying to sell them anything, just trying to get traffic to the page. And then, you get some steam, things get rolling a little bit. And then we started growing. And then as soon as like COVID came around, that was when everything kind of exploded, because we didn't really stop during COVID. I thought the whole thing was stupid, but regardless of what you guys think, but I thought, that's just my opinion. And so I was still training. One of the only guys. Yeah, no, yeah. And
you're okay on this one. You're okay.
Okay, good. Yeah. Fantastic. Good. You never know, at least where I live, you never know. Well, I'm sure where you guys live too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, buddy. Look, might be opposite coast, but yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, we align on that. And so we anyways, we didn't really stop training. We were one of the only like trainers in the area that were still working with athletes. So we obviously built up a pretty big client list at that time, and we had already had so much information on social media, and especially on YouTube, because it was searchable. Because it's owned by Google, so you Google a question, that takes you usually to a YouTube video. And so that was kind of when everything spiked, because we already had like the online stuff in place, and then everybody was going obviously to their phone because they had nothing else to do. And then same time, that's when TikTok started really going, and that's when we started going hard on TikTok. And then ever since then, it's kind of been just like pretty much steady growing every single year. Sorry for the long-winded answer, but it's just you get going sometimes.
No, I think that's really good. I think, it's important that there's so many changes in college football, how and high school football. What are some of the things in California that you're seeing that are really affecting athletes?
Yeah, I mean, in California especially, the private schools kind of run the table out here, like where public schools don't. Well, it's just like, it's a weird rule, right? Like I think public schools can't recruit, private schools can. So the private schools just will recruit, they'll pay people, they'll put them up in housing, like all kinds of crazy stuff. And so I think a lot changes a lot of ways that athletes think, like as far as like at the youth level, like they're kind of chasing, if I'm being honest, they're kind of chasing money, and that's that's kind of how college football is nowadays too. So it's an interesting change. But that's definitely the main thing that I've seen is just like it's the private schools just kind of run the whole table out here, and there's a lot of money being thrown around in a lot of places,
Yeah, and it's kind of similar out here, over here in Jersey, right? With the way the private schools kind of run the big show, maybe not so much out in the open in terms of like money and that type of thing, but it's definitely swayed in that direction. And like you said, I don't know if it's so much the kids at that age, right? Because they're kind of following like what mom and dad want them to do, or kind of lean
For
them
sure.
that way. And then, mom and dad are just kind of doing what their friend sitting next to him in the bleachers did with Jimmy that way, right? So it's kind of all just encompassing, but it's definitely similar in the fact that the private schools kind of run the show, whereas the public school, look, if you're the best kid at your public school, there's a good chance, probably an 85% chance, that one of these private schools are somewhere, way, shape, or form going to get in touch with you and say, hey, maybe you want to come to our middle school camp, or maybe you should, hey, we got so-and-so from your town that plays here and he starts and he's this and he got a scholarship here. Your opportunities here are just better, or whatever. But it's definitely the same type of angles that we're seeing here. And I think it's across the board, right? And obviously, Southern California, with your Modern Days and, those types of schools, like they're what's in the limelight, right? Like St. John Bosco, right? Like those guys are the big wigs. Whereas out here you have like your Bergen Catholics and your Don Bosco Preps and your St. Joe's Mont. Like those are your big wigs that are playing. Like, look, these are the teams that are on ESPN2 right now, right? Like the ones that are traveling around the country. And it's definitely similar, like you said, in terms of college football, the trickle down effect, right? Because you're seeing guys now, like they're not willing to go through the grind to be a backup for a year. They're just going to go chase at a lower level or same level, maybe lower, wins and loss wise team, to just go chase that immediate money. And I think that's an issue right now, is guys don't understand the long-term effect. They're chasing what's in front of them now.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when NIL like first happened, and I was training a kid who was from, well, I guess he was an adult, but he was at USC and he transferred from like Virginia, and he was a track guy and he was just fast as hell, but he walked on. And so he walked onto the school, and he wasn't an NIL guy, nothing like that. Great dude. He was actually from Jersey, believe it or not. The last name's like Outlaw. His name's Brandon Outlaw. I don't know if you know who that is, but it was a little while ago. But anyways, he was the first day that all that NIL stuff happened, and guys were getting paid, guys were getting some money. He was saying like guys are showing up at practice wearing like designer clothes, like they all got a new car, they all got the watch on, and it's like, and I'm telling them, I'm like, I hope they told you about taxes. You know what I mean? Like, I hope somebody explained that to you. You know what I mean? Like especially where we live, like shit. And so it's just it's so different. It's such a different conversation now, with parents especially.
Well, I think that's that's one of the big things. It's also how do they identify their path? Like, I've seen you talk a lot about that, like helping them try to identify what their path is and how should they go, how to maybe think about the evaluation of the process as they go along the way, which is one of the hardest things for so many parents, and especially now recruiting, because at the higher levels, they don't recruit as many high school kids as they used to. And it's difficult to advise them on that, because football for a long time, and it was one of my, when I first started coaching high school, was one of my sells to players all the time to come out to football. I would be like, hey, like you're it was like 8 times more likely to have an opportunity to get financial money in football versus like baseball and basketball for a very, very long time. And it's still the case that there's obviously more opportunity than those sports, because their opportunities have dwindled too. But it's not the same that it once was early on, meaning, a lot of great players will end up going maybe FCS or a lower level. And they, it's this like baseball, like 1AA, AAA kind of thought process along the way for some of these players. What are some of the things that you try to help families understand in this whole entire process? Because I know so many of them are so many who also had parents that played in college, by the way, are confused too, right? So what are some of the things that you talk to them about?
Yeah, I mean, I I got this advice from a guy that I knew. He's a high school coach down here, and he was a good buddy of mine. And he was like, he coached me a little bit. I coached with him a little bit, and he was a coach at like Southern Utah University, and he had a couple other offers to like other schools, right, and like probably better places than Southern Utah. And he told me, he's like, the biggest piece of advice, like, because I asked him a similar question, and this is what I try to tell my players is like, you want to choose like people over places. Cause he told me, he's like, you could go to like the Floridas and you could go to a school in California and it's great. You have a beach there or whatever. But like at the same time, you're spending most of your time at the facility. You're spending most of your time at the practice field. So like if you don't enjoy the people, you don't enjoy the staff, you don't feel like you have a real opportunity to play, but you just want to go to the school because it's, some fancy school like Miami or whatever the case may be. He's like, you're going to end up transferring. You're going to end up being unhappy. You're going to end up stop playing. Like, so just choose, he was like, choose the right fit, choose the right people over places. So that's what I always try to convey to people, have the luxury of having multiple, choices. And just where they feel like they're going to get a fair shake, where they're going to get a fair opportunity, and just like where the coaches actually like them and we're recruiting them for them, if that makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that, also not overvaluing your opportunities as far as the ability that you have as a player. That's a big deal too. And the ability to make sure that you go to a place where you're going to have that opportunity. I think that's one of the other things. Like, I feel like there's a, well, let's say you would have been an FCS player 10 years ago, like slam dunk FCS player, but now you're not getting recruited as heavily there. Right. But a school at the Division II level, you can get money and you have an opportunity earlier or whatever. Yeah. And, sometimes guys will go to the place where maybe they have one opportunity, but they're really in the current environment overshooting their level, right? Mm-hmm. And then they end up transferring anyway because it doesn't work out. Right. Like, so it's I see it a lot, and I see it with which will bring me to my second conversation. But yeah, what do you think about like when players overshoot their level, and how do you advise them from that standpoint?
Yeah, I think a lot of it. I think it all starts with just really honesty with the athlete. Like, I think a lot of people are, and I think it's number one, like, I think parents they'll say that they want honesty, but they don't want to be told that, like, hey, your son's not good enough. Like, he needs to improve in XYZ area. Like, I think they just want to hear that, little Johnny's great and he's going to be able to play D1. And like, so I think a lot of it's honesty. Like, I think they get bad advice from either trainers, either coaches, either like an advisor or whatever the case may be. And then I think they take that advice and run with it. And then it's a rude awakening. And I also think they're not exposed to people who play at that high of a level early enough, because I think, like, I remember me personally, like, I thought I was a really good quarterback until I trained with a dude who was going to Utah. And I was like, oh shit, that's what that's supposed to look like. You know what I mean? So I think it's like, I think it's just one of those things where like a lot of people are not giving them honest feedback on their player. And I think a lot of times, like, parents might be a little bit delusional in terms of how good their kid is without actually seeing what that talent level is actually like. And I think they would make better decisions, and they wouldn't have that, like, shock factor of like, oh crap, I'm not good enough to play at this level, if they were to see it and if people were, honest with them, if that makes sense.
That makes a ton of sense.
Right. I think the honesty. Yeah. Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
No, you go. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think the honesty part is big, right? And we talked to a bunch of college coaches, right? And everybody has a different way about it. And every program has their little niche or whatever. But I think that exposure to bigger and better, right? Which was something that Dave created when he started running all the camps and the showcases, right? Because little Johnny is really great in his youth league, right? But now he goes to one of these showcases or one of these camps, and he lines up against a true DB or has a quarterback that can really fire that thing, right? And it's not, hey, Brendan, my buddy over here, throwing me passes in the backyard on our youth team where we were always really good in gym class. Now he's going to get exposed, like you said, to guys that, hey, this guy's going to a Power 5 school. That exposure. And then I think the transparency aspect of coaches that, sometimes you have to be the bad guy, right? And it's a shame because, by the time they hit me at the high school level where, their youth coaches told them how good they are. And we know mom and dad are telling them how good they are. And then all of a sudden, now I have to be the guy, right? That like, hey, look, you could get there, but you're not there yet. They don't really want to hear that. So I think that transparency aspect, and then also the bigger picture stuff where, yes, exposure. And look, the 7-on-7 world does that. The flag world now is kind of doing that. Showcases and things like that. And if you're not exposed to that at a young age where, okay, I really got it. If this is what I really want to do, right? And I'm not just going to talk about playing college football. Like, I really want to get there. Hey, I might need to readjust some things and pivot and work here. And I really need to focus on this and those types of, which it's hard and it's difficult. But if you really want to get there, there are ways that you can see it. And I think you have to be honest with yourself. And that's really hard for some guys when it's like, hey, maybe I'm not there, right? But do they want to put that work in, right?
Yeah.
A gauge, and social media has helped that a ton, right? Because I could do that, I could do this. Well, hey man, go to that camp, or go line up against that guy. Where are you really in the grand scheme of it? And I just think there's not a lot of coaches that are willing to have those tough conversations, because they're tough. Nobody wants to tell a kid that, hey man, like, you're not going to Alabama, right? Like, you're not going to that dream school.
What I think you. I don't mean to interrupt you, Derek, but
no, good. Yeah, I'm done. I was done. That was my last thing.
What's really changed too is the college camps took over, and the camp circuit essentially, and the outside independent. I mean, there's still plenty of outside independent camps, but whether people liked them or didn't like them, it was kind of a third party. You know what I mean? Whether you like them, it wasn't the, and some people thought, some of them were money grabs and other, but the one thing that was true about it, it wasn't the colleges creating a money grab. Right. And I think that part is been difficult for families, meaning, like, if you're honestly a decent player in high school, you're probably going to get an invite to a Division I college camp, right?
Yeah.
And I mean a decent player, meaning like a Division III level, but a Division III level player. And a Division III level player, getting an invite to those camps really does them a disservice. And because they could go and spend, now there are, I get it, they try to make them these mega camps when everybody comes there, but you probably talked to college coaches that when you're at these mega camps, it's very hard to find, if you're a Division III coach or a Division II coach, to find the guy that is right for you and willing to have a conversation with you there. Because if they go to, let's say, USC for a camp or UCLA for a camp, they are, even though they know that all these schools are there, they are not going to be excited when a Division III or Division II program comes over and talks to them. So a lot. I mean, and a lot of times Division III and Division II coaches are like, oh, I don't like that the kid isn't excited when I come over to them there. And I'm like, it's also not the right environment, because they have a certain expectation in your head, and they're still 15-year-old kids, right? 16-year-old kids, maybe at that point, even if they're older, right? Going to be seniors, they still thinking, because they got this invite, that there's some shred of hope that they can go to that place, right? And obviously, we all know, like, when a 6'6" guy or a guy blasts a 4.40, yes, those guys are going to talk to him, even if they're an unknown. But for the majority guys, it's most of the guys they already know about at those camps. And then maybe the kid who walks in the door that's 6'6" that they didn't know about, or runs a 4.40, right?
Exactly.
Or really, I mean, when I mean has a laser arm, I'm talking about a guy with a really good arm. I'm talking like an absolute hose, which
elite, like
different. I mean, those are the only things that really like turn heads at a camp, because for coaches, most of the rest of it is, honestly, it's like a blur. You're like, oh, he's pretty good. Oh, he's pretty good. Oh, he's pretty good. But it's not like, wow, you know what I mean? So it's a lot of pretty good players and not a wow. So I think the thing that changes from a camp standpoint is getting players to understand that you're better off at maybe this FCS camp where you have 200 kids or 150 kids, or maybe even less than that, where you can get in front of them and work out directly and get a relationship. And I think that's if there's one of the few things that upsets me with respect to the college camps, the Division I schools who are making all the money, who are getting all the players they want, still hoard everything by inviting all these players that a lot of times don't have a chance. Like I realize that they're looking for the guy that they invited that's 6'6" or runs a 4.4, that one or two people. The truth is that person's going to walk into their door, I think, for that camp anyway, right? If they're really that fast, right? Yeah. Even if you sent that, like that person will call, most likely is going to walk in that door, or their high school coach is going to bring them and be like, hey, coach, I know you really haven't really looked at this kid yet, but, he ran 10.4 in a 100-meter dash last week. And I know you don't know that because you didn't look at the track results, but I'm going to have him run 40 for you. You'll see. Like, I think those guys are going to get that opportunity. And, but that's one of the things that and I know you spoke about this, so I'd love for you to expand on it a little bit, your thoughts. But that's one of the things that I feel like that, college coaches they're making all the money. They're doing all those things, like own up for the betterment of the sport and let other people that are in the lower level get an opportunity to get guys that might fit better.
Yeah. I mean, you said that really well. I mean, I agree with probably everything that you said. I think that, the whole invite thing really bothers me. Like, I don't know why, it just really bothers me because and even I don't know, maybe it was just a common sense thing for me. Just maybe I was raised that way, but when I was a player and I got an invite from a school like that, I'm like, I've never talked to these guys before. How do they you know what I mean? Most kids don't know that though. I can't tell you how many DMs I get because I respond to everything. That's at least what I try to as best I can. And I'll get during the whole recruiting season, whenever that time period is right before camps get gearing up and they're sending out these invites, I will get 50 to 100 messages probably a week of kids who are just hey, I got this invite. Is this real? And I'm my first question is well, did you talk to him before? Have you spoken with them? And they're just well, no. And I'm just then it's not real, bro. What? And I'm do you even have film? And they're no. And it's well, then what do you it's dude, they're just trying to get you to go to camp. It's just a money, call it what it is, just a money grab. And and I've had college coaches tell me that. I'll be hey, what's the deal? And one coach in particular, he told me, he's dude, the camps in the summer, we already have our guys, we know who we like. And he literally, word for word, I'll quote him. He said the camp is to be able to pay the assistants and the GAs so we have beer money. That's literally what he said, word for word what he said to me. And that changed my whole perspective on it. I'm wow, that's because that was when I was not even doing anything on social media. It was just that was even then, and now it's even worse. So it's just I can't stand the invite thing. You said it best. It's I wish it would be. I just wish they would leave those kids out of it. Let them go to a school where they're actually maybe going to get a shot, get a real look, or go to a camp where they're going to get a real look. And that's just better. Like you said, for the sport, it's I don't know why they're so greedy about it.
It's funny.
Years ago, Dave, how many invites have you gotten?
I still get invites. But I do, because I'm on everybody's list for either submitting a kid from back when I was a high school coach, or when I've filled out prospect forms on behalf of other kids. I get invites. I mean, I probably could go to a lot of big time camps if I really wanted to. 51. I don't know how well I know my vertical won't be very high. I know my verb won't be very high. But it's one of those things where it's like I said, there's a lot of flaws with the independent camp process, but it's a business. I'm always what a business, if you don't like my business, you can go to your business, right? I could go and choose a service that I think is better, right? Whether it's a money grab or not. Eventually, over time, someone's going to say, hey, I like his service. I don't like that person's service. And it kind of shakes itself out. But the college camps, there is no other option for kids, right? Kids if they don't think there's another option, it's like you have a captive audience that you know is going to come to you, and you're just bleeding them, knowing full well that they don't have a chance. You know what I mean? It doesn't even matter how well you run a camp. And for many years, I didn't understand what was going on, but for many years, like in the 2010s and stuff, when our camps were so huge, college camp coaches used to come to me and ask me how I ran my camp, my showcase camp. And I'm like, it's not rocket science, obviously, but it's but they would just wanted to know how the process was, because a lot of them, like when I went to school, college in the 90s, but when I went to like the Penn State camp, it was like a 4-day or 5-day camp. You stayed overnight.
Right.
Now, Joe Paterno and back then it was Doug, was last name was Graber at Rutgers. Those guys were open about the fact that, hey man, we run this camp. It's a great camp. It's overnight. It's a lot of it's instruction, but they do a lot of competitive stuff too. It's multiple days. And this is how we help pay for our assistants, right? Back then weren't making that much money or as much money. And as that grew, that really stopped in like the 2010s, you know, and those things went away because they realized that they run 1-day camps. They can run them every single day, get a bunch of kids, make close to the same amount of money, but have less headache because you don't have to house them. You don't have to have a coach stay at night to make sure nobody, I don't know, gets in a fight, go chases girls. You know what I mean? So you have to have counselors and all those kind of things.
Which was also part of the process of the evaluation too, though, right? Like seeing how those guys acted in the cafeteria, how they interact with, you know, someone who's not the DB coach, right? Like how do they treat those people that are cleaning up the cones was part of an evaluation process of, do I want this kid to come to my school and be on my team? That was part of it too, right?
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
That culture changed. As that culture changed, and obviously now, because of transfer portal, you don't even, I mean, in some cases, you don't need that culture, I guess, right? So, I mean, some coaches still have culture, like, you know, within their program. They all have to have some form of culture in order to win. But, you know, it's a lot more player driven as far as like top players performing driven. And then the lower levels, you got to create more culture in order to have a chance to be successful. But it's, but it was interesting because that change, to me, that was the greatest part of going on a college campus. Like when I would bring kids to 1-day camps, and you know, like it was high pressure. It was like, hey man, you know, I would tell kids like, hey, like the quarterback coach is over in that, you know, for this school is over in that group, dude, and you're over in this group. Like I'm gonna go over there. And you know, if I knew, you know, if it was a guy I knew, I'm like, hey, can I have so and so come over in this group instead? Like. You know, that's high pressure. First of all, like for the kid, it's crazy pressure, right? Especially if they're not really on the map, right? So, I mean, are you telling me that the kid's going to perform at his best? Like, and there are kids that obviously along the way, the kid Pavia from Vanderbilt, right? He doesn't fit all the measurables. He's 5'10". He's, you know, he looks like a middle linebacker, not a quarterback, right? And I mean, Pavia goes to any, and I watched, you know, one of the great things about that Netflix SEC thing, you know, they did a lot of, you know, stuff with Pavia, and you know, Pavia's not going to be on our radar. Pavia can go back to college camps now. He could go to a college camp now, put like on a blonde wig, and go to a camp at 220 pounds and show up at each one of these camps, and they don't know who Pavia is, and he puts on a mask or something, and he'll never get recruited. Yeah, I don't care how many lasers he threw at a camp. Okay, he's not going to get recruited. So that whole thing, that whole structure is a certain way. So the Pavias of the world go through a completely different path, and obviously it's worked out for him. But to me, there probably are.
He's the rarity though, too, right? Well, like he is the rarity of those guys. Like you know what I mean?
He's the 1% of the 1% of the 1% that didn't quit along the way. Okay. Right. Because there are kids like Pavia. Okay. But they just figure we'll filter those kids out. Like if there really are a Pavia, he'll work us through the process, and they might be right about it. But you know, there might also be other players that if cultured through the process properly and had a real fair thing, my whole thing is the mental outlook, and you talk a lot about this too, when the mental approach for kids changes along the way, and not everybody has the greatest parents in the world to guide them through the process, right? There are a lot of great players that could go through that process and maybe would have a better chance. And I'm not talking about the kid that's an a-hole. I'm talking about like a good kid that just doesn't know how to navigate this process because it's become so convoluted. It's like when I was an NFL agent, hey,
ever changing.
I always thought the NFL, the 6 years I worked with it, and I told Derek this a million times, it's as cutthroat as it comes, but it's as truthful as it comes. People don't like the truth on it, right?
Yeah.
But it's very truthful. When my players got cut, they brought them in. They said, hey, we think you have a chance to be in this league. You're not going to be on this team, though. You know what I mean? Or maybe we bring you back to be in the practice squad. Or, hey, you're a good player. You're just not good enough to be with us, and probably maybe not an NFL player. And that's the conversation. And it was quick. When I would be placing players, we used to call no's the greatest answer you could ever get, because we didn't waste time with that team. It would be like, no. Oh, I got a text from Kansas City. Cool. Let me follow up immediately. Right. So those things were really, really truthful. So people will be like, oh, the NFL is a business, and blah, 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 blah. I say, the NFL, it's the most cutthroat thing you could ever be a part of. But the truth is, it's the most truthful thing, because the only thing is winning. NFL is very different than college, because winning is the most important thing at the highest level. But there's a but to it. There's a big but in college. And the but is the universities want to make money. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
There's a big but. Now, obviously, NFL teams want to make money, but it's not at each other's expense. They're in a captive market in each one of their areas. And if I'm in Dallas, there's not another team in Dallas, right? But if I'm in Texas, there's a lot of other Texas Division I schools. So my idea is, if I'm not the top dog, we might make 30, 40, $50 million less. My team is not as good. So I'm not in the market of not just creating the best team I can, but I'm in the market of stealing from everybody else to make the best team.
Yeah.
Yep. And in the 80s, the NCAA kind of, when you used to have unlimited scholarships, right? So teams like Penn State used to hoard. Like from my high school, they used to say there was a lot of guys in the 70s that went to Penn State that really shouldn't have went to Penn State, because you were like 10th on the depth chart, but they didn't want you going over to a Pitt or Temple or Rutgers. You know what I mean? So you went to Penn State.
You actually see it. Right. You actually see it in high schools now, right? Like, I'll be very honest right about here in Jersey, right? Like, I see it, one school in particular, look, you're talking about 75 incoming freshmen. Like, what are we doing? Right. But it's what you talked about, Grant, right? Like, the parent to and the kid to be like, oh, private school. And then a coach in particular, like, hey, well, I'd rather have them with me, at least for freshman year, right? Because now it keeps them away from A, B, and C, right? So when they come in and they really see the process of like, hey, there's 75 freshmen, you're the 7th on the depth chart at quarterback. Like, yeah, they might leave, but they also might just stay because, hey, I will get that shot, even if I am 7 on the depth right now, right? Because I'm here and plus they all want to go back to their hometown wearing that t-shirt, dude. That's like, hey, I go to school here, right? Like, there's a lot of that. And college, you see it. And then that's why you see so many guys go to a school now and all of a sudden, bam, like, hey, I'm out of here. I'm going somewhere else, right? But it's that I'd rather them with me than somewhere else, because if they're somewhere else, then I just don't have control over that. And you see it a lot around here, especially recently, obviously as the transfer portal. I mean, look, we've seen this thing in the last, it's less than 2 years become wildfire, right? Because it's the Wild West. There's no rules. The timetable of when portal opens and when it's the spring session and all this kind of shit. I mean, you're talking about the backup quarterback for Penn State leaving like in the middle of like bowl practice for like a playoff game. He's got to make a decision because if not, that transfer spot is gone. Right. So it's just such a screwed up system right now that it's kind of the Wild West where anything really goes. And if you can navigate it and have money, right? Because money is now the ultimate. What you see, look at Texas Tech. I mean, they're literally throwing money at kids right now, and their roster has like literally look at Dion. I mean, that's more name, right? But he flipped his roster like twice in 2 years just by sending guys out and whatever. Rich Rod, 70 new players at West Virginia. He's taken over. 70 new guys on a roster, man. Like
does
it
Grant
is
have
wild.
a solution?
I hope so. Come on, buddy.
Like
this is what we're talking about. This is why we bring you on. Like, you got to have something.
Yeah, I mean, I just think like this is at least because high school does this at least in Southern California, where it's like
you're in the hot spot.
Yeah,
what's that league?
It's Trinity League. So
yes.
Trinity League's the big one. So it's the same shit. Like it's like there will be a school. It's ridiculous. Like these private schools will start recruiting. They'll start recruiting kids their 8th grade year. Tell them to hold back their 8th grade year. Right, then have them on their team. But they've done that with 18 other guys, and it's like it's the same problem. It's like all these. It's so funny. It's kind of funny to me because like
they all think the kids though, right, and the families think that this is for me, right? Like this is me. Meanwhile, like there's 20 other kids that got the same conversation that had the same thing. Like, and here you go.
I remember like St. John Bosco when I was like an 8th grade player. They had their AD, their athletic director, come out to a game, and I thought I was hot shit. I'm like, oh man, like this is great. And that's when Bosco was just starting to get good. And then I show up to like this 7-on-7 team that they invited me to, and I show up and there's like 5 other quarterbacks there, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, I thought I was the guy, you know what I mean? And then but I mean, you learn as you go that like, there are other players and they're going to recruit other players. But I see it even more now where these schools are just, like you said, they get everybody. And then at the end of the year, they go to 10 different schools and then it just weeds out like that. And so it's just, but I think the whole solution to at least it in college is like, and I don't know if this is even a rule now, but like you should be only able to transfer like once, like because that's how in high school, you could transfer as many times as you want, at least where we live. If you transfer
4 years, 4 schools.
Yeah, and there's a lot of guys that have that. Like I know guys that have been to more schools than that in 4 years because they just can't. They're afraid to compete. The coach leaves. It's a whole shit show. And it's like
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a whole problem. But you have to sit out 5 games if you transfer and you don't fake an address. But then again, that's why everybody lies about their address, and you get people who are cheating now because they have to sit out 5. So I almost wish it was like you get 1 clean transfer, you go anywhere you want, you can play the full season, cool. You transfer twice, you got to sit out 5. You transfer 3 times, maybe you got to sit out more than 5. And so I wish in college, I think they could solve a little bit of that if it was like, hey, when you transfer 1 time, okay, cool. Transfer a 2nd time, you're going to sit out. Transfer a 3rd, like you can't transfer a 3rd time. Like I think that would be the way to solve it. It's just I think, there's so much money involved that it's tough it's tough to regulate that type of stuff, And I wish the NIL would
in Jersey. They not to cut you off, they have that. That's what's been put in place in Jersey, right? So now in New Jersey, you get 1 free transfer rule as long as you're not a senior. So now if you're say you're junior, you finish your junior year, this sucks, get out of here, or coaches leave, whatever. If you're now transferring as a senior, it's an automatic have to sit, whatever, because they don't want all these guys get together and say, hey, let's transfer to this school for 1 year and go kill it, right?
Hard.
So that's to defer that. Now, underclassmen, 1 free transfer, no sit. 2nd time transfer, automatic. I think it's 29 days, which works out to like 4 games. Gotta sit, irregardless. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Calipari, I don't know if you saw. Did you see? John Calipari talked about. I don't know who was interviewing him, but talked about the whole thing. It's interesting that he's the one talking about it, but
I know. Yeah, he did half of this shit
he was
himself,
the one who
dude.
created the freshman thing originally. Like,
yeah,
the,
one and done. Now everybody's copying his model, and he's like, shit.
So that he was like, he still was doing the one and done basically, and what's happened in college football, college basketball, because guys have been able to stay basically in college forever. Some of the guys, his 18-year-olds are playing against 26-year-olds and 27-year-olds. And so, it's like, yeah, my kids might be pros, but as a 18-year-old kid, they're getting beat up by 26-year-olds and physically, down low and those kind of things. And his whole thing was like, maybe they should either go back to the way it was, where like you have a redshirt year, one free transfer like you talked about. And then there's a penalty associated with it after that, or like just do a 5 for 5, like just say, hey, what, you have 5 years, like, and you're out no matter what. You can play 5 years if you're good enough to play all 5 years. Like you start from the time you're in there and you want to play a 5th year, great, you have 5 years, right? Which actually I think is not a bad idea, because you don't even have to do the red shirt thing or any of that kind of stuff. You just say, hey, no matter what your skill sets are, you have 5 years to get in there. So get it in and play. And that way, at least the kids are 24 versus, 23, 24 versus being 26, 27. Because it's all about money, right? Like if I knew I wasn't going to be a pro player, or I was going to be like a CFL level player, you know what I mean? Or a UFL level player, maybe. But you could still be obviously a really top tier Division I kid, and a school will pay you $500,000 to $1 million to stay as long as possible and help them win games. So I could be a 27-year-old who's really barely good enough, maybe even to have a chance at the CFL or the UFL, but in college at X school Division I, I'm still, the guy, because I know the system. I'm older, I'm stronger, I'm probably athletically more aware than a 19 or a 20-year-old, and it allows me to succeed. So it's really, really interesting. And you're right. I think your solution is at least the base part of it is really something that has to begin to go. And then the other thing that has to begin to go is you have unlimited coaches in college, which is great. Gives a lot of jobs, a lot of opportunities for guys. But then there needs to be certain standards of conduct that I think have to come into play at some point. Yeah, and it's probably not going to be the NCAA, because no one listens to them anyway anymore. So it's going to have to be the conferences that say, hey, listen, like, you can invite 200 kids to your camp, okay? I don't give a shit who those 200 kids are, right? Because the reason why all these invites go out is because the NCAA says you're not allowed to invite, quote unquote, your best player. If you look at the NCAA bylaw, so I think Grant is, I've already offered Grant, and I want to see him in camp. I can't extend him a private invite. I've got to extend him the same invite that I might extend this kid over here, who I'm really not interested in. It has to be the same thing, which is to me completely ridiculous. Let's just be transparent. Okay, let's not make believe that we're trying to make everything all fair. It's not fair. The whole process is not fair. The best players are the ones going to have the best opportunities, and that's just how it is. Let's not make it like rec. Okay, because that's already the problem that we have in football at the lowest levels as it is. We're trying to pretend that tackle football isn't travel football even within towns, when it's not rec football, because I have 6 kids on my team that should play some sort of rec tackle football first before they go out there. But no, they're thrown in with all the other kids who would light them up in a game, and that's what happened. You got to put them in. So let's stop pretending that whole process and just say, hey, listen, you may want to extend invites to more kids than obviously the 50 kids that you might be interested in really bringing in. You can invite 200 or 250, right? And then at least if you know that you get that invite and listen, you might still be like 10th on their board, but if you're 250, you can make a decision. I don't know whether I'm 1 or I'm 250 unless you talk to the coaches, but I can make a decision. They can't invite everybody to every camp in that aspect, because if I invite these 250 kids, now they have to think about next school who might be competing with them. I'm going to invite 250 kids. I'd rather have at least 100 of those kids be guys that I actually have a chance with.
Yeah,
versus
right.
Just taking the same 250 that he took, because
Correct.
that
Shouldn't
may
be
not
copy paste.
Right. Like if I'm New Mexico, I'm not going to invite the same kids to my 250 that Texas is.
Fuck.
But right now,
no.
everybody's getting invited to all of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whether you're Texas or
look,
New Mexico, you're getting invited to it, or you're
Obvious-
USC, or you're
and Grant, obviously,
UC Irvine. It's the same thing,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same for you, Grant, right? With like the guys that you work with, but look, players come back to, Mom, hey, I'm going to such and such mega camp. All right, buddy. Well, there's going to be 400 kids there.
Yeah,
you're going to get 3 reps. Okay. And no one's going to know your name. Whereas, hey, maybe you should go to a camp, and your 3 reps might be the worst 3 reps of your career, right? And you might run shitty because, look, so many kids are running through the 40 line. Some coach is going to miss a number and guess and check on your 40 time, right? Like, it happens. But now, because, Rutgers is going to be there, Syracuse is going to be there, Boston College is going to be, you think that's go there, right? It's more the D3 coaches that are there that you might have a better shot with if you were in, I don't know how to put, more of a microscope for them, whereas it's just kids, bodies all over, numbers.
Derek, that happened to me once, by the way. With one of my kids.
Look, you can always tell this how it's a shit show is check-in line, bro. Like the check-in line. Like grow up, dude. And here's your look. Are there t-shirts, or are these guys writing numbers on the shirts as they go? Like shit like that is really like the all-in.
I had a kid that ran. You've met Elijah St. Hilaire, I think, or you heard when you were
the whole family. I've seen the whole family. You've had the whole family at Christ.
Right. So he went to West Point. He played for me like directly at the high school I coached at. He went to West Point, had a nice career. It worked out great for him. He went to, when he was going on his camp circuit, he went to Pitt and ran 4.49. I think he ran like 4.5 something at Rutgers. He ran some good times. And he went to UConn where I played at, right? And so this is my alma mater. And I call up the coach that I was dealing with at the time and knew him really well. He actually recruited me at high school. And I was like, so what'd you guys think of Elijah? He's like, he didn't really run well at our camp. I said, well, what did he run? And I already had known, armed with the information, like he was kind of between, I guess on his worst day, maybe he could have ran a 4.60. He had been as high as 4.49 at Pitt, but like kind of that's the range. The dude was like a good track kid too and all that kind of. So he told me some crazy, it was like 4.75 or 4. It was a crazy time.
Yeah.
I knew they just did not get a time on him.
Guess and check, bro.
Yeah.
You're like, what the fuck?
I know
there's no way he ran that slow.
I said, I don't want to argue with you, but that's like completely out of the range of the other 5 camps he went to. Like he would have had to have like literally tripped out of the start for that to have happened to him. Like he could have gone there sore, and like not feeling good and still been in the 4.6 range, so that definitely happens. What you're saying, Derek, that actually definitely happens when you have a lot of kids at
100%, dude.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, think about it. Look, you got 2 guys timing, somebody who's probably getting paid $12 an hour to sit there with their clipboard, or they're doing it for community service hours, writing down time. Hey, this guy, I can't even read the time. It's illegible. So let's just call it that.
Just tell me you're not interested. Just tell me you're not interested in the kid. That's what I'd rather you just say, right? Just say, hey,
give me it.
I'm not interested. We would have been fine with that. He already had like 5 or 6 offers. Like, just tell me you're not interested in the kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Don't waste my time.
Yeah. Don't tell me a fictional time. You know what I mean? That's like so out of range.
You're just also adding to this dream chasing, like,
Right.
and now that kid's now, I can.
I'll go run again. Actually, he said that. I'll go up there
Right.
again and go run. I'm like, do not go. They're not interested in you. I said, do not go.
Like, dude, like
He just
even,
lied. He just lied.
and then obviously you're just building up. You're just building it all up to ultimately tell the kid, hey, this isn't the right fit. It's not for you. And now it's just have to fall that much further, right? Like, just let it fly from the jump. Look, this isn't for you, but you should check out this. Or my personal opinion, I think you should be at this level, right? Like, just let it go and stop dragging this whole thing along for an extra $120.
Yeah.
That was the by the way, Derek, that was the we call that the dark ages at UConn of that era. That was we lost a lot of games. I'm not gonna say it like
Dave,
there were so many games being lost at that time period.
Listen, buddy,
I was surprised when all that happened. They know how now. They go,
but listen, you know how I feel. It's like UConn. I'm always like really rooting for you, but Dave, I don't know if it's ever not been dark ages since we've hit the big
we were
times.
9-4 last year.
Yeah, and all the best players have done what? Like, now they're all somewhere else, or fucking like
we were 9-4. And this year,
Fresno State, Grant, I guess.
Amazingly, it's how bad UConn football has been in the history. There's been some big when Arlovsky, the ESPN guy, was there. They won a lot of games, and then last year they had a really good year. But it's funny because our team in that I played on in '95, we're being honored this year. We won 8 games, right? We're being honored as like, which is great. It's great. I was like, wow, we won 8 games and we're being honored as one of the great teams in history. So, we get to go to the game, which is awesome. But I'm like, wow, 8 games gets you as one of the great teams in history. It's hilarious. But yeah,
listen, no, it's like the 2006 Rutgers team, Dave, that beat Louisville on Thursday night will live on forever as like the biggest win in history. Like, it's what it. Yeah, they're very similar, right? Like, they're very similar. What's different for you, Grant, is California has how many 1A schools, right? Big time Power 5 schools. Like, guys don't even look, but you look at like a San Diego State, nobody looks at them as a big time whatever. We only have Rutgers, right? So if it's not Rutgers in state, it's got to be a UConn, Penn State, a Maryland. Now Syracuse is like, it's like there's not many in state itself, and we only have one FCS with Monmouth University, who's recently like really kind of upped the ante and whatnot, but there's not many options for guys, right? It's not like Florida where it's, 1A or bust, or Ohio, where it's, how many schools, 5 FCS school or FBS schools. Like, there's not many FBSs in state here, but there's thousands and thousands of high school football players. I think there's like 300 and something football playing high school in Jersey itself. So, I mean, we literally live on top of each other here. So it's just so different when it comes to the outlook of where, like, but now Division III in the Northeast is monstrous, right? Like, you go Northeast, like, you could throw a rock and hit 10 like freaking, Division III schools. And look, I played Division III, right? I played FCS to start at Sacred Heart, which is, and then D3. Look, there's a lot of players that I played with in D3 on Clare State that were way better than the dudes I played with at FCS or whatever. It's just those situations, but kids are constantly looking to circle back for that big time. So when they see that mega camp with, the FBS school attached to it, that's really just going there as a courtesy to whoever to kind of get that smaller school more kids to pay and come, right? Because if I put Rutgers on that poster, I'm going to get 100 more kids than I would if I just put, William Patterson University, Montclair State, FDU, right? If I just put, you know what I'm saying? So guys, we got to see through the bullshit. Like,
I have a quick question. So you still work with QBs, right? Like,
yeah.
So when you work with quarterbacks, because they're one of the unique positions, I think, in football, development wise, them probably in, I guess, kickers, maybe, you know what I mean? Like, very, very unique into what they're doing.
In every kicker, unique in every way.
And how do you develop, like, what is kind of your process with quarterbacks? Because I'm assuming most quarterback parents that you deal with, have really, a plan and a process for themselves in their mind. So as a quarterback coach, obviously you have to be cognizant of that, and they're always unique from that aspect. What are some of the things that you try to do in development of quarterbacks to really help them along in that process? Because it's also the tough, not necessarily the physical toughest position to play, but definitely the mental most toughest position to play on the field. How do you kind of develop them from the time they're young all the way to when they become a college player?
Yeah, I mean, I think with the parents, I'm pretty, because it's just business, right? Like I'm pretty, whatever they want is kind of what I try to adjust the training to. Like if they feel like it kind of depends on the age, right? Like I'll
Right.
get like if it's already a high school kid, I generally will talk to the parents and just be like, hey, listen, does he have any prior training? What is he trying to improve on? This, that, and the third, and that's kind of what we'll try to focus on. If I get a young kid, I'll kind of treat it to where I'll tell the parents, like, listen, like, I have a way of doing things. Like, you need to trust me or you need to go find somebody else. Because, like, if you don't trust me to do what I'm doing, then this isn't going to work. And you're going to be telling me what to do. I'm not going to want to do what you're telling me to do, at least when it's a young kid. Like,
Right.
if it's a young kid, like, I have a process of, like, we're going to focus a lot. Like, because I've had this, I want to say probably next year will be the first year I'll have guys that I've worked with when they were really young to where they're in college. So like that's always pretty cool. But I would say with those guys when I first started with them was we're going to focus purely on just like throwing mechanics. We're not going to throw far. We're not going to throw deep. It's just going to be very, very boring and tedious stuff. And what I'm trying to do is kind of get them in that mindset of like they have to love the boring stuff. Because I think at the quarterback position, and a lot of it is boring stuff. Like it's because to improve your throwing motion, to improve on certain areas, a lot like any position and really anything in life, like you got to just do the boring stuff over and over and over again. And especially at the quarterback position, like I need you to practice this throwing motion 1,000 times. Like, and that's a no joke. Like, I need you to do this 1,000 times. And so when they're younger and that's kind of engraved in their head that that's just the way things are done, I think longer term it helps them as a player. And then when you could get to more complex throws, complex things from a development standpoint, it just makes it a lot easier, So it's that's what I would say with young kids that I try to focus on the most. And from a mental aspect, it's definitely just loving the boring stuff, but like being dedicated to that like boring stuff, if that makes sense.
No, it makes a ton of sense. I think in general, that is probably one of the hardest things. And quarterbacks is as hard as it gets with that standpoint because they really have to do repetition of the same thing over and over and over again. It's definitely not as much fun as when they play Roblox. So, at least in their minds.
Yeah, right.
To me, I can't even understand. I don't even understand why that looks fun. It doesn't look fun to me. But
I'm saying, yeah,
I'm in a different era though. So, but it's interesting because all sports in general. Because look, we've really worked to gamify as much as we can in training and development of kids. And I'm sure Derek with coaching, you try to do it right. You try to create competition, but there's no getting away. Like as far as I stray to that aspect, I always come back to, we have to just do this thing over and over again to get better at this thing. Then we can move to the next thing. And yes, we can go and gamify, and we could go, let's run 10 plays in 5 minutes, right? Or 4 minutes or whatever, and see if we can do it and be 10 for 10 throwing or execute 10 for 10. But then we still got to come back to we executed 10 for 10, but when Johnny ran his route, he didn't sink his hips properly and he didn't come out of his break properly. And we completed the pass, and that's good. But that pass should have been to that guy because we didn't read it properly. We just threw it to the guy who was our fastest guy, right? And so in the long run, we could set ourselves back. Coming back to just the fundamentals and development and the boring stuff, it's do you like when you talk to kids about that and parents about it, do you try to get the parents on board saying, hey, listen, keep reiterating with your kid. Like, I know it's not exciting as when we're throwing at targets per se, but
Yeah.
when I'm giving you points for throwing, you get 10 points each time you hit this, right? How do you go to get them back in line to say, hey, these repetitions are still the key to your success?
Yeah, I mean, I think parents are definitely important. I think having because they're with them every day, right? So like having them in their ear and making sure that they kind of stay on the straight and narrow is important for sure.
Yep.
I think with the athletes, I try to kind of play to just what they, with every athlete that I train, like sometimes it's harder to do this than others, especially if you have a big group, but I kind of really try to get to know them on a personal level just so I can understand what their motivation is. Because like if I have a kid, and one, if they know that I actually genuinely care, they're going to listen to me a little bit more
Right.
than if I'm just like kind of barking at them or just telling them to do something when I don't really have a relationship with them, at least. But I just kind of try to figure out like
or if it's only like a one-time shopping type of thing, right? Like, you mean like, hey, somebody just comes in for a one-time session or whatever, and it's like, hey, dude, I don't really know you, but like this is kind of how it is. Yeah, I totally understand where you're going
for sure. And I mean, like
that
it's
personal aspect of it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I think that's just like part of leadership too, from like a coaching perspective is like if you get to know them on that level, they're gonna buy in more to what you're saying, but also like
100%.
Yeah, but you understand what their like motivating forces and what their driving forces.
Yep.
Because I'll ask most of my guys like, do you even want to play in college? Like, or do you want to
Right.
like what do you want to like? What do you want? There's no right or wrong answer, and most of them are like, no, I want to play in college, and I'm just like, hey, great, okay, so if you want to play, you need to make sure that you were doing X, Y, and Z, and I'll try to give them some personal experience because I'm like, hey, dude, like I worked my ass off because like I'm not very big. I don't weigh a lot. I was, didn't have a crazy 40 time and I barely even got anything. So like if you want to play at this type of level, you need to do XYZ. And then I think a lot of it helps too is just like, being good at what you do. Like I think if athletes see results and they see results quick, they have a little bit more, they'll buy in more to what you're saying if they can feel it. So I always try to make sure that during like whenever I'm training, whether it's a camp, whether it's a group session, private session, whatever, is that we have that line of communication where I tell them like, hey, I need you to be honest with me. Like if you don't feel any different with this, like I need to fix it. And if you do feel different and this feels better, good, tell me so we could keep improving in that. And I think that obviously builds more of a relationship, but when they see that result and then you start telling them to do certain things that feed into what their goals are and what they're trying to do, I think that is a good way to keep them on track, at least,
That makes perfect sense. I think you're right. Derek, I'm curious if you do you have to kind of drive that home with the high school kids or is that an issue sometimes when you guys go and do things where you have to do repetition? I mean, I'm curious if you see that as well.
Well, of course, you know what I mean? Look, I mean, I think, one of the things now with social media wise is these guys have access to drills and workouts and all these things like so easily that they could literally go and do this themselves. But to have somebody who's their coach or trainer dictating to them and doing those types of things, I think just adds it. Sometimes what you see a lot of is, sometimes the kid doesn't want to do this shit. And it's just mom or dad kind of pushing them to do that because, hey, that's what everybody else was doing. Or that's what we did when so-and-so got wherever. They're just following kind of like a blind track. But one of the things that I totally buy into is knowing who your kids are and their players. It's why going to a new school, being like a first year coach, it's hard because you need to know. Like each kid is different. The cookie cutter way of coaching is no longer a thing. Each one of them learns different. They have different motivations, right? Like you said, Grant, like some guys don't even want to play in college. And then, so you approach that differently, right? And I'm very open and transparent with my players. I make sure they see me outside of just practice or just the season, right? Because we all know, you have August to December coaches, and that's the only time you see these guys, right? Look, I check in on them. Like I do a lot of the extra shit and I don't need to pat on the back or whatever. And that might not be the way that some guys work and still get greatness out of their players. Right. But for me, having those guys see me in the weight room in January, right? Like that's different. Seeing me do things and then going to their other sports, right? Like basketball basketball game or whatever they got going on. You know what I mean? Like now they see that you're invested in them as a person more than just a player that can, make tackles, score touchdowns, all that other. Hey, how's your brother? How's mom doing?
Yeah.
I mean, shit, 101, know their freaking name, right? Like I've seen coaches that if you're not in their position group, you don't know who they are. And for me, that's why I love doing special teams and being that guy, because I get to work with every position group, whatever. But, I really kind of make it a point every single to engage with every kid on the roster, right? Like, hey, and know their name and make sure they know that you know something about them. Like, hey, Lucas, nice. What was that post last night? You know what I'm saying, dude? Like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Just little like that, break it up a little bit. Just make it so that they know you actually care, right? Because every coach says, oh, it's about the kids. It's about the kids. But is it really about the kids with your actions? Because
most guys are bullshitting. Yeah.
Right. You're like, hey, I know my position group, whatever, but like, do you know that, so-and-so's mom, like, or dad isn't around, or hey, sister is, whatever, dude. Plug into their lives a little bit. You don't have to be like, CSI here, investigator, to know their name or to know that they play or have those like conversations that break it up a little bit. Like, hey, dude, I know you love pizza. I went to this place the other night. Like, check it out, just to have that different level of interaction with them. Those were always the coaches that I flocked to. Those are the ones that like, now when they're comfortable with you and they see you care, now you tell them to do something, dude, they'll run through a wall. You know what I'm saying? Like, and to just kind of have that relationship as a trainer, you can obviously buy into it even more so because it's literally, one-on-one or small group where it's me and 5 kids. Like now we all get on board together and you're part of something different. I just think that's so important to kind of know your kids. And look, you do get pushback at sometimes with certain guys that either, coach, why are we doing this again? And it's like, buddy, NFL camps, even the linemen start training camp. This guy could be a 10-year vet. Everybody starts with stance and starts, right? Or the boring things are what gets you really, really good. And if you can master those and continuously do that, and now the kid sees that, hey, if we work stance and start every day, it must be important. So they buy into that a little bit. It's just kind of getting them over like the whole, oh, we're doing this again type thing. But that's what football is, man. Like it's a lot more practice than it is games. That's what makes it great about it. It's not like any other, it's not like basketball where you're playing 3-4 games a week, baseball where you're playing it's practice, which like Grant, you can buy into because like you said, you love the training aspect of it, sometimes even more than the games, right? And now those guys can go and do that. And that's what practice is. It's individual, it's small group, it's all of those types of things where it's really hard. And if that guy doesn't trust in what you're saying or think that you care about him, he's going to blow you off. And kids see right through the bullshit. They know what coaches are plugged in and what guys aren't, right? So, that's just how I see it, Dave. Obviously the younger kids, like, dude, just stay in a line and stop touching each other. Like, what are we doing? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's more like herd and corral. And Dave has seen that too, obviously, because he coaches his son youth, like, 10 and 11-year-olds that it's like squirrels all the time. Yeah. I mean, but he does a great job. I mean, organization, right? And that structure, kids still want structure. Everybody's so quick to say, oh, kids are different or they're always on their phone or whatever. Yeah, because that's how they were raised, right? Like mom said, go pick up the tablet, not go outside. So they don't know any different. And we always assume that they know what we're talking about. So they don't, right? Like, so I coach every kid. Like I say, I'm coaching in crayon, right? Like coach every kid with the fundamentals and the basics. Even if this kid's an all-conference player already, it still has to come back. They always need that safety net of like everyday drills, everyday structure that they can always go to when the bullets start flying. And that lowers that, anxiety for them. And that's such a big thing with kids because no high school kid wants to look stupid in front of their friends, right? And that's what it is. So I think that's a key part that you touch on where you got to kid, not the player. Does that make sense?
Yeah, For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's like the same thing. I always do because I was talking to this guy who's like a Muay Thai trainer, and he was talking about how he'll get guys in his gym who just want to do like all the complex stuff and all this crazy like kicks and all this shit. And like he's like, dude, like when you watch an actual fight, what are they throwing? They're throwing a jab, throwing a cross. It's just the difference
Right.
between a guy who's throwing at a bag and a guy who's fighting at that level is that guy's throwing a million jabs and a million crosses. It's all the same stuff, but boring stuff, like the boring stuff, a million times.
Right.
That's why his technique is so sharp. So it's like it's the same that goes for anything. I got a question though. Do you have a lot of problems with kids who have trainers? Because I coached for a high school and we hated trainers. Like, and it's ironic because it's what I do. But like, we were just like, because kids would be like, oh, well, my trainer does this or my trainer does this. And they don't necessarily listen to the high school coach because maybe their trainer played at a certain level. Like, do you have a problem with that, or are you guys pretty good about that?
So it's definitely, it's definitely program based, right? And for me, the program I'm at, look, it's a very traditional program. Like our guys aren't really like go to the trainer type guys or go play 7-on-7 type guys, because majority of them are like, look, they're looking for a great high school experience. And then when they graduate, they're going to go to work. Right. So they just want like, so they're plugged. And from the other side, right? Like I know for me personally, if I'm training or doing whatever, we're working a showcase or a camp, the first thing I say is, look, guys, we're going to teach you some stuff today, right? And now it might not be what you're coached to do, but this is a way of doing it. There's a million ways to win, right? And this is just tools in your toolbox. When you go back to your coach, whatever team you play on, whatever it is, you listen to him. Don't be the kid that's like, well, my trainer said, so I'm going to do it. It's like, no, man, there's 1,000 like a hammer does a lot of shit for everybody. It's just how you use it. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the things I preface right away. But yeah, I think it is one of those things, especially when you get that kid that's like, hey, why are we doing it this way? You know what I'm saying? Like my coach says to do it like this. So I think it's program based, really, to be honest. And then obviously you see school to school, what type of kids go to trainers, right? Or do this or that. Like, so where I am, not so much. Now where Dave lives, it might be a little bit different because those guys have the means to go have trainers and do those types of one-on-one type of things. So I can definitely see where, that becomes an issue, but not so much for me in my personal program. Plus, I think we do a really good job of training our guys so that they almost get enough that I don't need to go to that trainer. And I want them to play multiple sports. You know what I'm saying? So I'd much rather them, go play hoops, go run track, go do lacrosse. And then look, when you're in the weight room, right, and we're working out, look, we'll do 10, 15 minutes of football stuff that you would get with a trainer, that type of thing. So they don't feel because my guys don't really have the means to go and pay somebody for whatever and go do it. But it's definitely program based in my eyes.
Yeah. I mean, the kids in our, in our town, we're in Derek's in a town that has had a lot of success in football. I'm in a town that's has probably most of other in my county, probably a large majority of the really good football players from youth all the way up. Whether they go to public high school, so a lot of them go to private high schools too. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So the public high schools are good, really good, but a lot of those kids also go to parochial or private schools too, and they're big contributors on those teams too. So I would say, there's a lot of people that I almost all of the players that are going to play in college, that are probably going to play in college, they are definitely getting some form of outside training, whether it's, linemen may not be going to a line guy, but they're going to obviously go to some strength guy, maybe, obviously. But skill guys, definitely, no doubt about it.
Yep.
And down here, 7-on-7 wasn't super big, but we actually, me and Derek, we have our own club. So where a lot of the kids down in the shore area do play, and now it's exploded where there's a lot of other clubs, right, that are run as well. So whereas North Jersey, where we grew up, that was kind of pretty prevalent. But now, though, it's amazing in North Jersey, where it was originally most prevalent, because the parochial schools have become so powerful. A lot of those kids do not play
Correct.
7-on-7. They just go to their trainer. They literally
100%.
They're just with their trainer all the time.
I mean, we're talking like 3-4 days a week, Grant. Like,
wow.
And even this is something over the last
that's been like a big
I've seen. Guys are still doing that in season.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like Sundays,
right? Like, hey,
Sundays,
like Sundays or Saturday after, or Saturday after you're running film in the morning, like afternoon, we'll go get a workout in with so and so, right? Like, it's definitely.
I've actually noticed that too. Like, because I remember when I first started training during the season, like nobody came out, like maybe on Sundays, but now it's like I have something going, like there's really not any off season, because I used to look at it like September to November is like kind of the off season, but now there's really no off season. Like I have stuff going every day because of that reason, like young kids, high school guys, not so much high school guys during the week, but weekends it's all high school guys,
Absolutely. Yeah, because they're just looking to fit it in, and it's almost like they've been programmed to, if I have a day, like if I'm not doing anything, I'm doing something wrong, right? Because you look at youth kids now, everybody's like, oh, kids don't do anything. Bullshit, dude. Like I look at some of these kids' schedules, like they're trying to fit in, like especially if they're like a multi-sport kid. I mean, you're looking at their summers where they're going from football in the morning, and then they got basketball at night, and then they're squeezing in a trainer somewhere, shape or form.
It's a great point that you brought up, Derek. There is as a dad in this aspect now, as someone who, when I was a high school coach and developing athletes, I would have kind of frowned upon some of this like overscheduling. One of the things that I have seen, and it's really because of social media and video games, like the way that video games, the consoles, not the consoles are less of a problem. I'm talking video games on the phone, or my kid doesn't have a phone, but like an iPad, and so you would be shocked, Grant. Like every kid, like I would not have known it if I didn't have my my own kid, right? Every kid is on these things. Every kid, because when they come to practice, they're all talking about the same thing. Like craziness. It's craziness. So,
Dave, why do you think you getting the go routes was such a big thing? Because now all of a sudden they're like, "Oh shit, can I play Minecraft on this thing, or can I do Roblox on this thing?"
Well, now they don't like it because it's there is no Minecraft on there, so they've given up on that aspect. But what is really interesting about the scheduling is, I used to be like, I don't want to overschedule my kid. Like I want to, if he can play with friends, that's what we try to do, right? But what could happen is, like, your kid could really, and I've seen it with my own kid, he literally could end up playing a game for a couple of hours. Like, and my whole thing is like, well, wait a minute, if he's going to be playing a game for 3 hours, I'd rather him working out or go and play basketball if a friend isn't available at that time, right? Because especially in the summer, like most of the summer he goes to camps, but now you get to August, like camps are done. Like there's no camps anymore, right?
Nope.
So now you're basically sitting around, and I see how it can happen. And my whole funny thing is, it's like, dude, can you give me 15 minutes to work out versus I'll give you back an hour in games. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, because if the friend's around, we want him to go over by his friends. Like, but a lot of people are either away or aren't available. And I'm like, you know what? I'd rather just send him to go, he'll do some football work with me, or go to the guy he works with for basketball, you know what I mean? And then go train with him for an hour, because at least he's doing something constructive, right? Read a book, like for your school, like that's the other thing that's been severely affected by games. And I hate talking too much about it, but it trickles now in the high school. It's trickled into high school a lot.
Oh God, yeah.
Where it's like games versus XYZ. It's like games versus school, games versus training, games versus friends, like, and they think that playing games is how they because their friends are on there, they could talk to them. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
That's they think that's hanging out.
That's hanging out.
For
So
sure.
it's a weird, like, I'm not from that at all. Obviously, I'm much older. So but I've learned to, like, okay, let me like kind of just get inside what they're thinking. They're thinking you're taking away my friend time. That's what they think. Yeah. So when I take away their friend time, I have to figure out how to give it back, in a positive way that's different. And if I can get them together with friends, or maybe even if I got to take them to like a trainer with another kid to do it, you know what I mean? Like I'd rather do that. Or, hey, call your buddy. Well, my other quarterback that plays with me, I'll have you guys throw to each other. Right. So, and that kind of aspect, because they don't have the ability to just all of a sudden get on a bike all the time, and go to where they need to go.
Right. That's so different. I mean, also remember, it used to be.
So I like
to be 4 of us sitting in front of the game console, right? Like, because the only game console, you had to plug it in and you had to be next to each other in order to play, GoldenEye multiplayer. Now these can put on their headphones, go downstairs, and they could play games with 50 different friends, and you got, it's like, oh shit.
The trainer, believe it or not, like the trainer. And so the coach really does a great, when you play for a high school or whatever program, the coach is instilling like a organizational value to everything, right? Mm-hmm. Values and systems and discipline. A trainer does that also, slightly different way, but also does, because it's almost like the coach and the trainer are acting as a reinforcer to values that you want your kid to have. I know it sounds crazy. I if I didn't have my own kid going through it now, because I would have been like, because when I was a high school, when I was first a high school coach, I used to be like, you really don't need to go to training. We're going to do all this stuff. But then I realized, hey, these trainers have value. We really to do some great things with the kids. I saw it firsthand with kids that I coached, like quarterbacks that I had, like, I'm a good quarterback coach, but hey, I can't be around them all the time. He's going to this guy, and this guy's developing him at another level, right? It was awesome. And but I realized that there's a second component to it. It's hey, this guy's reinforcing the values that the kid believes he wants at this point. Like, he wants to be a great player, but kids don't really know the process, right? Dad's telling them the process. Maybe they don't want to listen to dad or mom about it.
No, hell no, man. They need to hear it from someone else.
Time. Yep. The trainers tell them, hey, listen, I'm not your dad. I'm not your mom. But, like, I did play, and here are things that you're going to have to do if you want to be successful. We're not telling you have to do it. Like, I always say to my son, like, you sure you want to play this sport? Like, because it requires certain things.
Are you sure you want to play quarterback?
Right. Are you sure? Like, so I want to get confirmation that you want to do it, which may be different than a lot of other people, just because I've been a coach, but I want to make sure that my son has values of hard work. You got to do the boring stuff to succeed, right? Like, it's not going to be like, oh, I don't know if you know this, but like, they tell me all the time, the kids, on Roblox, I have $50 billion, like, I'm like, what?
It's like, what are you talking about?
Buddy,
yeah.
This ain't Bitcoin, buddy. Like,
$1
what are we doing?
Like, what? Well, what is that, right? So that's a totally different value system.
I hope you get there.
That, Derek, when you get there, you're probably a couple of years away. When you get there, it's a wild ride. But it's but yeah, so that's totally different atmosphere from the atmosphere that you're trying to still, like, hey, I'm not going to be there as a parent one day. Like, you're going to have to fend for yourself. Hopefully you're okay. And it's not just the values I'm instilling, but trainers and coaches, I believe, do instill, and people like you, like when you're talking on your platform, it is important, man, that stir that conversation up, because otherwise they are in a drone mentality for the most part. The games, everyone plays these 3 games, everybody watches from the algorithm these 3 videos. They all know, like, if I go somewhere and I said I saw a video, they 100% they saw it. 100%.
Yeah.
Like that algorithm, whatever that football algorithm is,
yeah.
it's everybody's seen that same thing. Like when I had my I sent the defense to my coach. I said, from youth football, I said, listen, you should, I think this will help with your defense running. This guy runs one of the best youth defenses. Well, he's on TikTok all the time and he's great. And all of us know him. Okay. You've seen him. And I literally, like, I bought the defense he runs for my defensive coordinator because I think he needed a couple of things that could help him get a real structure to what he's doing, right? And the funniest part of all of it was he goes, "Oh, I know that guy. I love his stuff. I watch all his videos." And I said, "There you go. I bought you his exact. You didn't have to pay for it. I bought it. I bought his exact system, and follow within what we're doing, the structure of what he's doing. And now you don't have to think too much about, are we having it covered as a youth coach who works a job full time, right? And now is coming in and coaching a bunch of kids. Now you can go through that structure. Now you have a plan that can help you without you having to go and figure all those things out. But the kids are in that kind of algorithmic mode. And when a coach and a trainer could talk to them, a real person, I think the value, I mean, what you're doing online, it hits them, it hits us from an algorithm standpoint. It's as good as it comes. I'm just telling you the truth because I watch a lot of your videos and I always come out of it and I'm like, and by the way, also your news stuff too. You keep me up to date on some things too.
Very good.
Love it. Okay, really good. But you're when you go on a rant about something, I'm like, do I believe that? Is there something that I like thinking about it.
Yeah,
because it helps me with my coaching on the kids. It helps me guide my kid too, even though I played Division I and I'm in the recruiting thing and everything. But when you're in there with your own kid, you need to be able to step back and hear other voices that are not yours. And it helps you to kind of guide along that process. So I can't thank you. What you're doing is great. Sometimes you probably don't realize it when you're going through it and you're like, do I want to keep doing this all the time? The value that you're giving to coaches and you have no idea. It's unbelievable what you're doing.
Yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. It's very nice of you to say.
It's a very, very important thing. It's
a breath of fresh air to know that there's others out there that kind of like are willing to go out and put themselves out and that track, or like, what I mean? Like-minded people in terms of like, look, we might go back and forth on certain things, but at least, the standard of the kid is the most important part. And this is how we approach it is all similar. Like I think that's the best part about it, Grant. Like I said, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, man. Like, pushing out the content because, I thought some of that shit's funny as hell. Like, when you did the 7-on-7 players, like dude's got and then you just did each dude. I was dying. I'm like, this is spot on. Like that guy wears a bucket hat. That guy's got goggles on, right? Like this one's over here doing like, dude.
Yeah, it's like
I wish I had the balls to do this. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's like I take it sometimes because I'll get like shit from those guys, and I'm just like, dude, like you poked the wrong bear, man. Because I'm gonna let you have it for a long time. Right. So like that's so like, fun. Dude, it's fun. Yeah, I enjoy it.
It's like, you're the coach out there with a backpack on, right? And you got your Crocs on, and you're calling plays off your tablet and shit. It's like, dude, you know exactly what you are. So like,
Well, and it's a lot of it was when I was like a coach at a high school. Like we would go to these tournaments with like our high school team, and we would just talk shit, man. Like we would just be sitting there just chirping these guys, like just making fun of them. And so like a lot of that is like, and you see it now because 7-on-7 is so much bigger. You see it, so that's fun. That's funny you say that.
I do. I just think it's so.
Grant, I'll tell you what's funny too.
Spot on, dude.
What's so funny about 7-on-7 because we have a club and it's 100% true. Like, there are guys that go so hard into like all their planning and everything, and like,
oh my god,
our philosophy is like we have our wristbands that we hand out to all our kids from basically. We might have a couple of adjustments for the older kids, but basically from 8 to 18, right? And because we go all the way up. and they're basically running almost all the same exact stuff. Okay. And they all execute it. But like, I mean, our 8-year-olds practice maybe once a week. Like they're really out there to run, learn the aspects of where to sit down and all that kind of stuff. And the from a passing game standpoint and learn how to run the routes better and all that kind of. But as far as like schematically, we laugh. Like there's certain things we know is going to be open. Like we know, if you play this defense, like these things are going to be open like all the time. It's just whether we can execute it or not. It's not rocket science. You know what I mean? Like, but it's funny because the coaches, and we've won a lot of tournaments, and we always laugh. They're like, how often you guys like you coming in with the wristbands? I'm like, dude, we draw the lines out there. Like we're not like trying to invent play calling, like because whoever their high school coach is going to call it differently, and or their youth coach, he's going to call it at different terms. Like so, we just keep everything the same, and we draw pictures. Okay, obviously mesh is mesh, but we draw the pictures out. And then we explain them, like, you didn't run your comeback route deep enough or whatever. But we draw the pictures because we're like, hey, man, like, we need to get better at the skill part of it. Like, I could draw the scheme up for you, and I don't need you to memorize the scheme. I need you to memorize your skill set and coverage, you know what I mean? And what you need to do to beat a guy. But it's funny because some of the guys you play against, it's like they felt like they were Newt Rockney when they designed like some play.
It's like, I like look, check out this new play I came up with. You're like, yeah, dude, you just like
I have that play too. It's number 9.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. It's like it's such a crazy world, and it's just such a crazy world. I try to stay away from it as far as I can. Good for you guys having a team, but I just can't. Like I just can't do it. It's just I would listen.
We could write we could write a couple bestsellers like that would go into like and people to just see the world that is and like every aspect of it. I mean, we've been doing it for a long time. Obviously recently, like it's shifted from older kids to now younger kids. I mean, in literally 3 years, I'll just go out there. Like we created a market for 8-year, 7, I mean, like literally it started out as like 4 teams in a tournament. And now it's like, hey, like we got to tell teams no at that age, right? It's almost like the focus has gone from 15 and 18 to younger because it's just what it is. You know what I'm saying?
15 and 18 too. I'll tell you what, this is the crazy truth. The 8 to 14-year-olds really are there to get better and compete. This is my when we 15, I think we're still hanging on at 15.
A little bit. We are right there on the edge. Right 18,
there. Dude, it's craziness. Like we happen to attract kids that are really great kids because we tell them like we're not going to do any of this nonsense. If you want to do the nonsense,
go to somewhere else.
You can go to. There's a lot of clubs.
Go ahead.
Like, we don't care.
Wear goggles.
Go to those clubs. But
you ain't doing.
But the 18 is hard. I mean, it's hard, dude, because you literally, we're uncool. I mean, I don't know anywhere.
We really are. No, we're boring.
You're uncool. You're just gonna get better. Like we're not cool. You know.
Yeah. Sorry. But I mean, look, you can look at, and I'll brag.
We're not telling you can't have fun, but
and
we're not cool.
Right? Like, but these guys, right, that come to our clubs, they work, they develop, they compete, and look, a lot of them are playing ball at the next level. Right? And it's just
so many in college.
We really, it's if we did you know what I mean? Like it's unbelievable, but they start to understand too. Like we go to these tournaments and they look at some of these teams. They're like, Coach, what the? You're like, yeah, dude. Like you don't need to throw a ball up and shoot it. Like
it goes back to the value system that you're trying to instill as a trainer and a coach.
Yeah,
7-on-7 is they've gotten away from the value system that a trainer and coach has for the most part, and they just want to go be as glitzy and as cool as they possibly can be, quote unquote, and they get away from the part of, hey, what is the values that we have? It's still about getting better, right? If that's your values, then your 7-on-7 is okay. If your values is like, purely to win every tournament you can and do as many backflips as humanly possible, and wear as many pairs of goggles on the front and back of your head and cowboy hats and whatever it is. I mean, listen, we could all go to dressed as Halloween. I'll wear a Superman
100%.
outfit, so like. So
take the capes off, boys.
Yes, So I mean, that's what a lot of it's become, and then it becomes like, what is the value aspect of it? One thing about it is really, and it's hard to control sometimes, but like one of the things that we always told kids is like, we celebrate with our teammates when we score a touchdown. Like, the truth is, I don't give a shit if you spike the ball. I mean, there might be a penalty, but I want you to celebrate with your teammates, right? Mm-hmm. What I don't want you to do is, and we saw it when we were first playing other teams, is you jump over a guy, you head tap him, quote unquote, right? And you jump over him, and they would all do this crazy thing where they would like kind of bully, other teams would bully these kids. And we told our kids, we don't ever want to see you guys do that. You do that, you're not going to play for us. We're going to tell you, you go celebrate. You want to tell the other kids that that's what you did on our team. Great. You guys can go jump up in the air and high five each other and chest bump each other all you want or whatever. But we're not going to make some other kid feel like he sucks because you happen to one time jump over him and make a play, which is great. Great job. I mean, you made a great play, but we're not here to do that to other kids. And because, the next time that kid might come down and do that to you, and now he's going to do that to you. And now we got a fight on our hands. So what are we talking about value-wise? We're trying to talk about. No one's saying don't have a good time. I don't even care if you go do a backflip on something. I could care less. But like, we don't want you to be doing. We want you to do it with your teammates. We want you to get better. It's not here to go and bully some other kid because you jumped over him. Like, you know what? You just might be more talented than him. Like, God blessed you with a little more ability than that kid. That kid's over here trying to work hard. Great. You scored a touchdown. Awesome. Let's get back over here on the sideline and go play defense. You know what I mean? So that's the thing that I think 7-7 has gotten away from. And look, in every sport you can point away, there are certain things like some of the perfect game stuff or the travel baseball stuff, because my kid plays travel baseball and we play basketball, AAU and all that stuff. And I see it in all the different cultures and all the different sports. When the value system is, hey man, go out there, do the best you can, have a great time doing it, love the sport, enjoy the sport. Coaches instill those values and saying, hey, we're trying to get you to the next level. It's awesome. When it gets so far to a deviant aspect where it's not even like there's no value system, then you start to have an issue. It's one reason, like, people like the tournaments we run, people have always enjoyed them. We run them only locally, like in our the Northeast area here. And coaches will go to we go to a lot of other tournaments, and we go and we're like the game was supposed to start at 2, it's now 5:30. Like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure you've experienced this. We're like, hey, you put the schedule into the software and you keep your games on time because everyone has a better experience. And if you're late for the game, your team happens to be more than 10 minutes late for the game, your team forfeits. And guys would be like, oh, I don't care if you're caught in traffic.
Sorry, dude.
Me too.
Leave earlier, bro. Leave earlier.
It's on me. Right. You know what I mean? So you got to teach the kids and the parents that they need to get there on time. I'm waiting. I was waiting 45 minutes for a kid. Well, that kid's going to have to get left because that kid needs to understand that, okay, yes, we're, with kids, we're a little lenient. Maybe we wait a few minutes. We're not going to wait an hour for you. Okay. That's not going to happen. And that's an important thing that parents and kids need to learn. Those are where you get the values in the right direction, where your tournament gets 2 hours off because you waited for a team who wasn't there. No, that's the team in high school. When you go to a high school 7-on-7 at a college, I always say to them, do they wait for you if you don't show up on time? Yeah. No. I mean, maybe if it's St. John Bosco, USC might wait, I guess. Or modern day. But for the most part, they're not waiting for Upland High School. You know what I mean? To get there. So in California. So your job is to make sure you get there on time. So you try to instill those kind of aspects. It's hard though. It's very hard. And and probably the same thing do you deal with a little bit in the trainer space. If a parent comes to you and says, I want you to do all these fancy drills because they saw these fancy drills on YouTube or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that's not within my core value system. I'm not doing those things. I'm doing what I think is best. You say, hey, I'd love to train you, but like, that's not my core value system. There are other guys that were willing to do that. That is where you go and go over there. But I think that, more and more trainers need to adopt not just what's cool. Sometimes what's cool can be good, but but it has to also have value and teach value systems. And that's how we keep people in football, because football itself has its own issues within the game that are related to obviously the physical nature of the game. Right. So it's important to make sure that we as football coaches and trainers and people around football try to get them in the right direction. And the last part I also think is important is parents don't get offended if your kid gets coached up, right? Like, I'm on the kid, okay? Like I tell even my 10-year-olds this. If one of the coaches isn't paying any attention to you at all, you're probably
that's a problem.
You should be concerned. If a coach is trying to teach you and maybe he's demonstrative in his teaching, I'm not talking about abusive, but demonstrative in his teaching aspects and gets on you, that means he thinks you got more in the tank. And you might want to try to respond to it, try to listen to what he's saying. And the truth is, like, if we coach football like we coach cheerleading, it's not going to be, it's not going to be really effective and give you the ability to succeed. Not that there aren't probably some crazy cheerleading coaches out there, but
she's the best, dude. She is the best. Sometimes I have to turn around the sideline and like, holy shit, is she really? Like, oh, all right, like let's go. Her son actually happens to be an outside linebacker for us as well, but like, you can tell why he is the way he is, because mom she is a banshee, bro. It is awesome to see it too. So look, it works in both worlds. Grant, appreciate you taking the time, man. Dave, you got anything else? Because I'm good, man. That was awesome.
You're awesome. If you ever want to come down and break down a specific thing or talk about a specific topic, even if it's something short, like you say, hey man, if you want, you can ask me about this, and this is something that's on my mind. We'll bring you right on. I'm glad to talk to you about it, because you got a great mind for the sport. So stay in it as long as you can.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
All right, Grant. Have a great day, Coach. Oh, yeah, before we let you go, the best way to find you, should they type your name and type your company too? It's First Down.
Let guys know. Let guys know what. You can just search your Twitter, your Instagram, all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you can pretty much find me anywhere if you just search up First Down Training. So just FIRST, not the number. So First Down Training or Coach Grant Carraway, and you'll be able to find some of our stuff on there. But yeah, guys, seriously, appreciate you having me on. Really enjoyed it. It was great talking with you guys.
Absolutely.
Thanks, man. Have a great day.
Grant. Yeah, you guys take care.
All right, bye. All right, good stuff.
Southern Cal, man. Go get him.
He's good. He does good stuff. He really does good things.
I like it because he goes at, like, hey, this is how you do this, but then it'll be like, hey man, like, this is on Seven World and how they dress, right? So it's that level of like, hey, this is something we're really getting after here, and then hey, we're gonna lighten it up with this and whatnot. It's just it's good to see that there's guys out there that are in it for the right reasons and kind of do it the right way.
No doubt about it. I think that I think he's doing a really. I like his. He's got a unique little like kind of news kind of rant segment, which is really cool.
Yep.
And I think it's really important that more and more there are more people involved. There's so many people involved in the sport as it is that we get people from all different aspects in and now and involved in it. So good stuff, man. Everything else good?
We're good, man. We're good. We're Friday. we have a nutritionist coming on too to talk a little bit more about some in-season stuff and, you know, kind of how to take care of your body, you know, overall, and kind of keep that, you know, keep that good fuel in the car so that thing keeps running and going. So I love that kind of stuff, dude. The nutrition aspect of it, I think it's, you know, one of the more underrated things that play a factor into, you know, obviously your performance and how you can play and all those kind of things. Like overall health, you know what I'm saying? Like the what you put in your body is what, you know, what you get. So, you know, listen, it's not you and I, you know, ripping sandwiches or whatever we're doing, you know what I'm saying? But like the little tricks of the trade, right? Especially for these kids to kind of navigate, like, hey, I got a full day of school and then I'm playing a game tonight. You know, how do I eat right? How do I sleep right? So, you know, I love having those, you know, those girls on or guys just talking about some of that kind of stuff. So it'd be really good for Friday.
No doubt about it. All right. Till next time.